Yes. Good morning. Great, Moses. Morning. Just testing.
You say 1, 2, 1, 2.
Testing microphone 1, 2.
Microphone check.
Am I clear?
Very
Asante.
clear. My side, anyway. I don't know Drake's side.
Are we there?
Am I clear?
I've also been checking.
Well,
We are.
Lujja,
clear.
you are
Yes,
live on
side.
you
I
are
don't
live
know
on
Drake's side.
you are live on YouTube.
Okay. Am I clear?
I've also been checking.
Well,
We are.
Lujja,
clear.
you are
Yes,
live on
side.
you
I
are
don't know
live on
Drake's side.
you are live on YouTube.
Is there an echo? Am I clear?
I've
Oh,
also been checking.
You're streaming on YouTube as well?
Yeah, we are streaming on
Drake.
YouTube also.
You drop the link here.
you
Okay.
drop the link and we also share it.
You also test and share.
We shall share it later. People need to be here. And they
Okay.
know there's YouTube, they might run to YouTube first. And then we have a few numbers here.
True.
So it's only to those who complain that they can't get in later on. But the link is there. I've shared it with you.
Let me test.
It is
I want to see myself. Doubting Thomas.
it's
This
what
time it is doubting Osamai.
People complain that they can't get in later on. But the link is there. I've shared it with you.
You can see. Let me test.
It is what
Myself. Doubting Thomas. This time it is doubting Osamai.
people complain that they can't get in later on. But the link is there. I've shared it with you.
You can see. Let me test.
The thing is repeating itself. Is it me or someone is the machine?
I don't know. There is a problem. Some repetition.
No, it is the YouTube thing. Whoever has put it on. You know, the words take long to reach the other side.
Now, how shall we manage?
No, it is not interfering with us, but because for them their audio is on, we can hear. You get it? I hope you get it. Yeah.
Doubting Thomas. This time it is doubting Osamai.
You see, his computer audio sound is on. That's why you hear it.
Let him first mute and we see if it will come.
Moses, are you with us?
I've just left the place.
Yeah, he just left because now we were hearing what is in the machine.
Okay, I see people are joining very fast. This is good. Since we have around 20 minutes to go, I think 6 of us already by this time.
We should be displaying something at least to make. I
think we need to learn that the meeting room is open.
I could share recordings of the previous ones as we get ready to start, because there should be something happening, not just having the silence here. People need to know to be seeing something.
I hope they don't think the webinar started, my friend.
Let me also test my video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good, good, good.
I think this is good to go.
So in whose office are you?
I've borrowed someone's office. Because my place is very busy, student. It is already full.
It looks too neat to be yours.
You bad. But mine is neater, only that students are there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Members, you're almost welcome. We shall be starting soon, so don't be worried. I'll let your colleagues that their joining links are in their email, so you should not be there wondering where the joining link is in the email. It's repeating itself. Is it me or someone is the machine?
I've borrowed someone's office. Again, this thing is repeating. Oh, you're on YouTube.
It is me. It is me. I was on YouTube, sorry. Let me get.
Yeah, it has just reached that side.
Let's keep these people entertained. I see they are dropping because I know they're not seeing something going on. So, Lujja, if you can play some music, something to keep them entertained, it is important. Or display something. It gets
Did you say you're
boring.
going to play last time's recording?
Oh, I did.
What should I
Okay.
display? The program?
Maybe
Yeah. You could
I'm
display the
suggesting to
program.
display the call, the advert for the call.
For now.
Yeah, for now.
Which call?
The advert for the call for this conference, not the program, because the program,
Yes, it's okay. Yeah, it will be displayed again.
Drake, do you have that advert with you there?
Not handy, but I can look for it. Yeah.
Play for us music. We want to dance. No,
that's the poster.
You want to dance at Dongo?
You know the CUUL anthem. You need to be playing CUUL anthem now.
The full anthem. Hey, we haven't actually created the full anthem. So how do we let's make people know that the meeting room is open, because I see the numbers are still few at this time.
Highlighted them on the list forum.
Okay. I have made sure actually everyone receives their joining link. We have around 300 registrants, so I expect like 100 already before the beginning of the session.
That's what you say? Great.
Sorry, Moses, I was muted. Yes.
Are you getting your music?
I see this 14 minutes too. You could play for us. I'm not getting my music. Not yet. I'm not ready.
Huh?
If you have, you play for us, please.
Can you hear from the background?
Yeah, let it be in the background. We are not yet hearing.
You're not getting it?
Nope. Not.
Hey.
DJ. I'm just sharing the recording of the previous one we had. So we always upload these recordings online.
I'm seeing our students from the different campuses.
We have one for the research webinar series. I think it was the first one. Introduction to academic writing.
You're also welcome.
The
librarian, you're welcome.
You can always catch up with what we learned by going to our YouTube channel, which is called CUUL YouTube. Let me see. CUUL Resources.
Welcome.
Remember to subscribe. There are more videos. Let me.
Which is being headed by Martha.
The videos are all here. Even up for the previous conferences. This was the first CUUL conference. Then we had this webinar by Dr. Mary Namuguzi. Then we had another one for navigating resources. Oh, sorry. Critical literature review. Critical literature review. Oh, I don't know whether we had the third one, but we are supposed to have another video here. So if you want to catch up with what happened before, you can always come here on our channel, YouTube channel. You just put Consortium of Uganda University Libraries, and you'll be able to get to this channel and be able to view all those videos. I think the one that was viewed the most was this one. It has 239 views. The one by Dr. Namugozi. Maybe we marketed it well. We need to market others. The one of critical literature review has 175 views. So we have good views. So let's keep marketing this channel, and remember to like it. Remember to subscribe when you come here, because we need more subscribers. I don't know how many we have in the channel, but there are not so many. Let me see subscriptions. Oh, I hope this. I don't want to see my channel. I want to see the one of CUUL. These are mine. Oh, these are subscriptions. What about for this? I don't know how to see them, but for the YouTube channel that where these videos are, it's just CUUL Resources. If you just want to get to it on YouTube, just type this and you'll be able to see it. Remember to come and catch up on whatever you might have missed in the presentations. I'm just waiting for Lujja to let me know when I should give him the mic. But in the meantime, just know that the videos are always uploaded somewhere and you can always view them. Oh, we have 21 subscribers. That's still not bad. We have 5 videos and we have 512 views. Yeah, and the channel was created on 2nd November 2021. So we are not doing bad. However, when you come to watch a video here, remember to subscribe. Also, for those who will have challenges joining this webinar, we also have a YouTube link. So for those who have challenges, you might use the YouTube area and you keep up to date with what will be going on in the webinar. We thank you for turning up in large numbers. Inform your colleagues to also tune in. Lujja, are you with us?
Yes, great.
Okay.
I'm still with you.
Okay. I think now that we have 8 minutes to the beginning, we can share the program.
Okay. Maybe if you can stop sharing the screen. Stop sharing, sorry. Members, you're welcome. Tell a friend to tell a friend. As you join, you send a message to a friend. Okay, and share the program. Please confirm that you can view my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
You're most welcome, members. Tell a friend to tell a friend to also join so that we can share.
Good morning, Lujja. I didn't hear what you said.
Yes, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I
Yes.
like the preparations.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, my ears.
Is yes there? Yes.
He's there. I can see him. Good morning, ears. Good morning and good day.
Morning, Doctor.
Boniface, good morning.
Morning, Doctor.
Yes, 5 minutes to go. Remind your colleagues to join. Yes, members, you're welcome. You're welcome. 2 minutes to the start of our webinar. Remind a friend to remind a colleague to join and we can share. Yes, good morning, members, colleagues, and all members that have joined. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So it is exactly 10 a.m. and I believe more members are still joining. If we can give in an allowance of 5 minutes. If we can give it an allowance of 5 minutes as other members join. But maybe we can also be introducing ourselves in the chat. Members still joining, you're welcome. We are giving an allowance of 5 minutes as we wait for other colleagues to also join. Then we start our webinar. So in the meantime, you can be introducing yourselves in the chat. Yes, I speaking to you. I'm Azziz Lujja. I'm working with Soroti University, Library Department. I'll be your moderator for the day. Yeah. So let's keep reminding our colleagues to also join, and we see how the day goes. Yeah, the chairperson research and publication committee for CUUL is with us. Hassan Madoi is also present. Hassan is in UAE, you're welcome. Lydia, Kakai, Francisca, Dennis, Muni University, Anyango, Susan, Aga Khan, Dr. Mary Chambogo, you're almost welcome. You are almost welcome. I think our presenter will be joining us shortly. If she has not already joined, let me see. Yes, I also recognize the joining of our presenter for the day. So I think we can start. Can we start?
Hello. Yes, we can start.
Okay. Let me hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Yes,
Okay. So members, colleagues in the profession, allow me to welcome you to yet another one of our monthly webinars from the CUUL Research and Publication Functional Committee, as well as the ULIA Education, Training and Research Committee. I talking to you, I'm Abdulla Azziz Lujja. I'm working with Soroti University Library Department, and I'm also serving CUUL as the Eastern Region representative. I'm glad that we are here once again for this webinar. CUUL has been conducting these webinars since they have started, but like I said earlier, for this particular one, we can see the ULIA logo somewhere here on our program. Recently, CUUL and ULIA signed an MOU, and all of these, the things agreed upon, I think it is to engage in such trainings, webinars, whenever they can jointly. And I think on that, I would love to applaud the leadership of these two bodies. But maybe, however, on a sad note, we have, since Ulia is part of us now for this webinar, our Ulia Vice President on Saturday lost his 4-year-old son, and maybe I would request we give a moment of silence and we say a silent prayer for him and the family. Just, I think 1 minute is enough. We say a silent prayer for our Ulia Vice President who lost a son on Saturday last week. So members, let us take a moment of silence. Amen. On your screens, I think you can view the day's program. We shall have introductions that are already ongoing in the chats. Then we shall have opening remarks from the Research and Publication Functional Committee Chair of CUUL. That will be Dr. Sarah Kaziva. Then we shall kickstart our presentation at around 10:20. We shall have a session for Q&A. Then we shall have closing remarks on vote of thanks from the ULIA General Secretary. Let me hope he has joined. That is Mr. Patrick Odong. Today's webinar is a really timely one, if I may call it, as we approach the 3rd CUUL Research Conference that will be next month. We are going to have researchers present to us papers and projects. I think it is important to also prepare adequately. I don't know if we have people who have submitted their papers online with us. This webinar is really timely. So it is not only for this particular conference, but for the future conferences to come. So I think with that, but before, I think we missed something on our program. We need a prayer. So can I have a volunteer to give us a word of prayer? A volunteer, please, can give us a word of prayer. Anyone? Hello, members, who can pray for us? And we begin our webinar.
Yes. Let's humble ourselves for a word of prayer.
Thank you, Madam Barbara.
Thank you. Almighty Father, I thank you for this morning. I thank you for the organizing committee for this specific webinar. Lord, I thank you for the partnership between Lujja and CUUL. Lord, as we prepare for the CUUL third conference, research conference, and any other conference that we may need to present our papers, Lord, I pray that you grant us the energy, the knowledge, the skills that we need to acquire during this training, this webinar. Lord, I thank you for our presenter for that day. And I pray that you may keep us attentive throughout the session through your might, through in the name of Jesus Christ, I pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Madam Barbara, for that wonderful prayer. And I think from that we can proceed to the second item, and that will be opening remarks from Dr. Sarah Nakaziba. Doctor, you may take the floor.
Thank you so much, Lujja. Good morning, colleagues. I hope we are all doing well today. I'd like to thank you so much for joining in today and for always joining in each time that we invite you for the webinars. Thank you for always making time for these trainings. For today's training, we are going to look at conference presentation skills for researchers. And we all know that when it comes to research, it is such a tedious process. You know, it is so time consuming that you do need a lot of time to come up with a proposal. You go to the field and you come back, analyze, you write. So it takes a lot of time. And because of that, there is need for us to disseminate our findings. And one of the reasons is that we need to make an impact in our different professions. Now, in this case, the LIS. The only way you can be able to do that is by sharing our research findings. There are different ways that it can be done. You can either come up with a paper, publish a paper, or you can do a conference presentation. We all know that conference presentations are given an opportunity for us to showcase what we have, our work. We can also engage with our peers. Like Lujja mentioned, we are going to have the third CUUL annual research conference. And in this conference, a number of you, I can see them online. They have engaged in research, they have submitted their papers, and they can't wait to disseminate their findings to us. So they have taken this opportunity for the conference for them to be able to disseminate their work and also engage with the peers who will be there. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, they will be able to get feedback from their peers on how to make their papers much, much, much better. But of course, we know that when it comes to giving conferences, it is another hassle. It is so intimidating, especially for the early career researchers like most of us. And that is why we are here today. We want to be equipped with the skills, with the knowledge, with the confidence to be able to present at these conferences. And on that note, we are very grateful for Jane Alowo for accepting to facilitate this training so that she can share her knowledge, her experience. In fact, we should be happy and glad, and we are really, really happy that she allowed to facilitate, because she's one of the best that we have in the country regarding conference presentation. Thank you so much, Jane, for accepting to be our facilitator for today. I'm sure this is your first time to have so many librarians in one room. We are very grateful. I'm also grateful to my committee members for organizing this, the Research and Publication Functional Committee for CUUL, and also the Lujja Education, Training and Research Committee. We are grateful for this partnership, and we are grateful for the work that has been put in organizing the webinar. I would also like to thank the publicity team. Thank you so much for putting the word out there. I'm seeing we are now at 64, and I know the number is still growing. Thank you so much for always dedicatedly disseminating the advert for the webinar. Thank you so much. I'm going to request that the moderator, you allow me to briefly talk about the third research dissemination conference, which is going to happen next month on the 10th and 11th. The conference is premised on the theme, Transforming Library and Information Services for Sustainable Development. And like the moderator has mentioned, we have a number of papers that have been lined up again, on the various sub-themes that this conference is going to run on. And I'm sure that most of you would not want to miss this opportunity to know what is happening in other libraries, what our researchers in the LIS field have unearthed. Come and see come and listen in on their findings. Come and be able to learn what they have learned. Come and be able to learn and know about the different trends which are happening in other libraries. We shall also have a panel discussion. We have a number of LIS professional experts who are going to discuss our role regarding the Sustainable Development Goals. So you would not want to miss that. We shall have a number of presentations also from our sponsors. They have different services, resources that they would want to share with us. So I'm calling upon all of you to come and listen into the keynote address, and then you can also be part of that discussion and collaborate with your colleagues, collaborate with colleagues from Uganda and from other countries in Africa. We have sent out invitation letters to head librarians, and also some of you have individually requested for invitation letters. So in case if you are planning to attend and you have not yet received an invitation letter, you can always reach out. We shall share the individual invitation letter so that you can come and be part of the conference. Thank you so much, moderator. That marks the end of my submission. However, I would also like to thank you so much for allowing me to moderate this session. And I want to mention that the moderation of the research and publication webinar will be moving from university to university. So in case if we come to your university and we call upon you to come and moderate, please come and be part of CUUL, come and be part of Lujja. Thank you so much, Mr. Lujja.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor, for those wonderful remarks. And I want to also thank you for giving me the opportunity to moderate this webinar. Ray, can you help me mute some participants who are just joining? You can help me mute Mr. Okay. Let's see if I can do it from this side. Okay. So before we welcome our presenter, allow me to say something about Dr. Jane Francis Alowo brings over 25 years of experience as a seasoned educator and researcher in language, culture, and communication at Makerere University. As a dedicated trainer and consultant, she has developed and led numerous communication and training programs tailored to both national and tertiary education levels. She has effectively facilitated cross-cultural training sessions, enhancing participants' communication skills across diverse settings. Dr. Jane has extensive experience in designing engaging presentation content for researchers. A graduate of Makerere University, Uganda, and University of Sydney, Australia, she is passionate about advancing scholarly communication. She is committed to helping researchers effectively share their work, navigate conference presentations, build academic visibility, and create meaningful networks within and beyond Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Jane as she takes on the floor. Doctor, you are most welcome, please.
Thank you so much. And thank you for this opportunity to share this with you. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm delighted to be here. I'm going to request Dr. Sarah, if you could kindly help me to share my presentation as I present. I'm having a bit of problem sharing. Is that possible, Sarah? I've shared it with you.
Yes, the moderator is going to help project your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much.
A pleasure.
Yes. So
okay, just a minute. Let me download it here.
Okay, sure. Great. I see you got it now. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm happy to talk about presentation skills for researchers and scholars, because as people engaged in this is something we have to do all the time. And as human beings, one of the things we can all do very, very naturally is speaking and listening. And the harder skills are reading and writing. But conference presentations present a combination of all these skills. And that is sometimes often challenging because it takes us outside our comfort zones. So I thought I would start by looking at the objectives of this training that Dr. Sarah has so graciously and effectively presented, but let me go over it again. We want to build competencies in scholarly communication. And in this, we would like to improve presentation delivery and design. We all often know what we have to say, but just designing it in a way that is articulate and easy and comprehensible to other people is often something we keep on learning for life. As one scholar said, we all know what we want to say, but the challenge is getting other people to know what to say. And the second one is to enhance our confidence and engagement skills. Knowing something and being confident to deliver it engagingly to other people are not one and the same thing. And that's one of the things we are going to be talking about today. And then as we go along, we will see that people remember a lot of what they see and hear more than what you actually say. And so this already points us to the fact that the visual elements are a very, very important part of what we deliver. But before we do that, why do we present at conferences? I don't know how many people are online right now, but I'm glad to hear there is a conference coming up. But not everybody presents. Some people are very prolific, they present a lot, and others don't. Why don't others present? Is it because they lack confidence? Is it because they lack knowledge? Is it because they lack knowledge of why this is important? So I want to talk just briefly about why we present at conferences so that we know that this is a valid engagement, that we have time. One of them is visibility and recognition. So when we present at conferences, we increase our visibility and the work you are doing, both within Uganda and beyond. I like quoting Blakey, who says that if you are not appearing, you are disappearing. How will we know you are there? There's so many people who know what you do, but the difference is who is visible. And visibility is the beginning of opportunity, because visibility creates opportunity. We cannot give you the opportunity if we don't know you are there. You've heard of the famous saying that there is no such thing as luck. Good luck, they say, is the meeting between opportunity and preparation. So, when you see people out there succeeding, traveling all over the place, being invited, getting funding, and so on. Sometimes we say, oh, so-and-so is lucky. No, they are not lucky. They have created the opportunity and they have prepared for it. And presenting at conferences is one of the things that gives you opportunity. With visibility comes promotion. We know that a lot of promotion in academic institutions is based on your conference presentations, on your publications. Very often what you present at a conference ends up being a publication. And those two are different things. A conference presentation and a publication are two different things, but that's talking for another day. Funding opportunities. When you present at conferences, you raise awareness about the things you are doing, about the priorities that you have. And if you do it compellingly, you will definitely attract more funding than a person who has not had the opportunity to do so. Secondly, just as Dr. Sarah mentioned in her remarks, conferences allow you to connect with peers, experts, and potential collaborators. And this is again related to the previous point I made about visibility. You can meet senior researchers and other stakeholders who probably attend those conferences, who later become co-authors on a funded research project or on a research area that you're interested in. I want to talk about what we do sometimes when we go to conferences, especially when they're outside our country. So you travel from here and get to Entebbe and you find that there are a few other people traveling with you, strike up a conversation. You find yourself in New York or in Sweden or in Norway, wherever that conference is. And what do we do during tea break? We quickly go to a corner to talk to people who look like us, who talk like us. You see all, sorry to use this if it sounds racist, the Bazungu standing there talking in their Muzungu accents, and you look for this other African, most likely even from here. You're from Chambogo, you are talking to somebody from Makerere. You are from Aga Khan, you are talking to somebody from Kampala University, Gulu University, who you have an opportunity to talk with when you're here. Why don't you take this opportunity to talk to new people? Why don't you take this opportunity to talk to the previous presenter who just presented before you? Say something interesting. Say something like, oh, I like what you said about this and that. What do you think about this and that? It is said that the most commonly used word in the English language is I. That will help you. As soon as you ask a person, as soon as they know somebody is interested in what they were talking about, they will talk. You only have to be comfortable and listen. And many times we are not proactive, we are reactive. We are just waiting for people to say, hello, how are you? What's your name? I'm Jane Francis Alowo. Oh, where are you from? I'm from Uganda. Oh, Uganda. How is Uganda? Uganda is fine. Is Idi Amin still there? No. Why are you proactive? Why are you reactive? Why are you the one answering questions? Why aren't you the one asking questions and doing more suggestions? And as I go on, I hope you have a paper beside you. I want you to write down on a paper 3 research areas you are interested in, so that as we continue with this presentation, you can then just write other points that relate to your presentation. I'll be giving examples, but you see how you can relate those examples to your own presentation. So and the other reason why we present at conferences is professional development, like I've already mentioned. It improves your public speaking and critical thinking skills. And these various events, it doesn't always have to be abroad. For instance, your university's research, we can boost your ability to articulate complex ideas and handle questions effectively. Sometimes, in order to build confidence, you start small. Start with a presentation at your very library or at your very university. Many universities have weekly seminars, and these weekly seminars are always open to hearing people talking about things. All researchers in every university need the library. But as much as those researchers know things in their own field areas, they surely do not know things about the library. At least for me, each time I've gone to the library, I have learned something new. I have learned how to use the resources. I have learned how to use certain softwares that help me do things better. There are so many areas in which you can engage and build your confidence. Feedback and improvement. There's never a time when there is no room for improvement. However good, whatever you have done is, there's always somebody who sees it from a different angle. So when you present at conferences, you gain insights from diverse perspectives. During a presentation on, for example, that topic you wrote, I don't know, do you have a presentation, by the way, that you're going to present at that conference? Please have one. Look at those topics and see if there's something you can write. Is there still room? If there is room, prepare it. But if there is no room, prepare a presentation nevertheless. There is nothing as good as a presentation that's ready. The next time you hear of a conference, you just jump in there and go and present your paper. And you will get valuable feedback to refine your study. Now, what are some of the things that you need to do in order to present? Any conference you're presenting to, or even any context in which you are speaking, the principles for conference presentation are very similar to the principles of public speaking. You are speaking to an audience. That is the nature of the interaction. Do an audience analysis, understand their needs, expectations, beliefs, values, attitudes, and likely opinions. For example, let's start with the small presentations I talked about. Supposing there is a presentation at your university, what are their expectations? What do they think of the thing you're going to talk about? What are their values? What are perhaps their values? If it's a university, one of the things about universities is they are places of free thinking. They are places of creativity. What are their attitudes? And what are their likely opinions? Fortunately for us, as scholars in universities are one of those spaces which give you latitude to have an alternative view. So in that we are lucky. But then again, not all your conferences will be like that. Sometimes you are invited to a conference where people have certain attitudes you have to consider. For instance, you might be invited to talk to the Mothers Union about the need to create to support community libraries in order to engage their children. So those are religious people. How are you going to speak to them? When you've done you understood your audience, you tailor your content to their need, to their background, to their expectations. For example, a presenter talking about referencing systems might focus, say, on EndNote. We know that there are many referencing systems and you can use any. But perhaps you have done your background, you know that these people are using EndNote. So in the limited time that you have, in that time, you will talk about the application of that in their context, because that is what you have discovered. If you spend all that time talking about a new novel kind of referencing systems that they don't have access to, you're going to lose your audience. Then customize your content. Adjust complexity, tone, and examples to match your audience. Sometimes, and this is again one of the differences between a scholarly publication and a conference presentation. When you're writing a scholarly, some of us take our scholarly publication and come and present as if we were reading a scholarly publication. We forget that a scholarly publication is in a specialized journal where the audience is specialized. and is actually able to understand the technical words that are there. But remember that in a conference, it might be a conference on a certain issue, but it may not have only academics. It might also have other stakeholders who are not academics, but who are interested in the subject matter. So when you know this, you adjust the complexity, the tone, and examples to match your audience. E.g., at a local workshop for primary school librarians, for instance, there might be librarians, they might not have training like you. You can use storytelling techniques to explain the impact of reading programs in order to make your data more relatable, because they might not know the complex things that you know as a result of your training, as a result of your exposure in the work that you do. So we note that it takes time, preparation, and thought, but it yields valuable insights when you approach an audience that you have got, that you have analyzed properly, and you've got the expectation. You connect with them more effectively because they feel that you know them. One of the things that our president does, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, you notice that when he goes into an area, he will learn one or two things. He will learn the greeting. He will go to say a place like Tororo, where I come from, and say yoga winti nedi. He will go to Teso and say yoga akironyo, and you see people clapping so much. He hasn't said much. He doesn't know much more. And then he will pick one proverb. Have you noticed that he picks a proverb? Something to connect with the people and to identify with them and to show that he will, then if he wants to talk about some developmental thing, he will pick a proverb from those peoples to say something that they can relate with. So are you able to do this? I'm not saying use a proverb. I'm not saying greet people in their language, although that would help if you knew it. And then it guides content preparation and real-time adjustments during the presentation. However much you do prepare your presentation, there are many things you'll have to adjust to during that presentation. It is easier to make that adjustment when you know something about the audience. When I came to do this presentation, I asked Sarah, well, who am I talking to? And she told me librarians, the association. And so I know I know sort of the orientation. I didn't have enough opportunity to ask her many more questions because I was away for the subsequent 2 weeks. But I've tried to do what I could visualize from the knowledge of the few librarians that I have met. Elizabeth State, are you there? One of the librarians I know from Makerere. So let's be more specific. What do I mean by conducting an audience analysis? One, you have to consider the demographic analysis. Some of these things are not always possible. It will not always be possible to find out some of these, but if you can. So we know gender, I think on a conference, you can take it for granted that there will be male and female. Average age, you've been to other conferences. What kind of conference is it? Is it a conference for the youth? Is it a conference that where you expect professors? You can estimate the average age of that. Marital status, perhaps not so significant for a conference, but at least you presume it is normal for people to be married. And some will be married, some will be single in that audience. When you're traveling in Uganda, you might know, oh, probably most of these are Ugandans. How about when you travel to other countries? When you travel to Asia, when you travel to Europe, you can make certain guesses about the race mix. But then again, conferences tend to be very diverse with different races and ethnicities. Socioeconomic status. Some conferences are to specific audiences. For instance, they might be calling communities to discuss the access to new electronic resources for rural development. Who are some of the people who might be there? Some of them might be ordinary rural population. Some of them might be urban. Education. Are they highly educated? What is the level of their education? Occupation. What is the occupation? The nature of the conference will give you an idea of the occupation of these people. Religion and group membership. Again, depending on the audience you are going to, like I was saying, you're talking to Mothers Union, you are talking to Rotary. This gives you some kind of ideas about this. When you have an idea of your audience, you tailor your message to audience characteristics, concerns, and interests, as we will see. So again, look at those research areas that you wrote down. Who might be the kind of people you will be talking to about these matters? Then we go to audience dynamics. These are the internal factors that affect people's perceptions of how they see things. What are the values of these people? For instance, one of the most topical things now is homosexuality, the homosexuality bill that we are talking about. When you go to present in Middle East, what do you think their values are? You know, we are being crucified here in Uganda for talking about homosexuality and so on, for having stringent rules. But we know that in some countries in the Middle East, this actually attracts a death sentence. But nobody is attacking Saudi Arabia, for instance. Why? So you coming from Uganda, how are you going to talk? You can still talk what you want to talk, but think about the opinions and attitudes and beliefs of the people. Are you for? Are you against? Are you in the middle? How are you going to talk about it in a neutral manner, considering the audience that you're talking to? You don't have to fear to express what you're going to say, but again, we shall be talking about how you talk to an audience without offending them. Identify pre-existing notions about the topic and the speaker. So when you know the kind of audience you're going to talk to, then you know which way to go in order to persuade them and to refine your message to align with the audience perceptions. Now, the one that is easiest of all for me, I think, is a situation analysis. And this is the most, I think, one of the most important because it is here and now. Consider specific factors such as audience size. Sometimes you go to a conference and there's a plenary and then there are breakout sessions. Are you presenting in the plenary? Are you presenting in the breakout sessions? How many people are attending that conference? And if there is a conference of, say, supposing this meeting of today, we had plenary sessions and we are hopefully we are going to be about 160, and there are 4 breakout sessions. What does that tell you about the number? Max, about 40 or less people will be attending. So in order to present in an engaging way, I'll be talking about the visual elements, the verbal elements, and the gestures and expressions. If the audience is large, you probably have to speak a bit louder so that people can hear you, despite the fact that you have a microphone. Some people whisper into a microphone. If the audience is small, perhaps you're going to be talking in a more engaging, a more personal manner. What is the physical environment? Sometimes you go to a conference and you have a room that, you know, has no distractions and so on. Sometimes you'll go to a conference and it is in a hall next to a main highway, and one side of it is a glass window where people's attention is actually on the road, the people passing by. What are you going to do to hold people's attention? And the occasion, Even conferences have occasions. Some are merely dissemination conferences. Some might be donor conferences that are gathering different stakeholders to present their plans for the future, and you're representing the plan for your library. So this then becomes something that's more of a persuasive undertaking. You have to put forward a good case for the research you have done about the situation in your own area and persuade them to think positively about what you're presenting. Level of formality and style of your presentation. We are from, by virtue of our colonial history, we are very British, even in the things we do, and also from our cultures. Our cultures teach us to respect elders. So sometimes we go and speak very formally, very officially, Professor so-and-so, Dr. so-and-so, and so on, and we are using. But sometimes you go to this conference and the style is very Jane, Sarah, John, Mary, and even the presentations are like that. So sometimes feel the temperature of the room and feel the level of formality so that you don't sound too casual if it is formal, or too stilted if the style is more informal. We've already talked about the potential distractions or challenges in the setting. We'll be talking more about how to deal with those. Now you've got your audience analysis, you know the kind of people that you're talking to. And by the way, to go back just to the situation analysis, once you've done this scan, do it. If you are lucky not to be the first speaker, you have an opportunity to see how other people are presenting, how they are received, and you have an opportunity to prepare. So now you're going to use your audience analysis. Focus on the topics that resonate. Avoid provoking negative reactions. Let me go back to the topic of homosexuality, because it is one of the most triggering topics that we have. There are three kinds of audiences you can have here. You can have an audience that is dead set against it. This is against our culture, we don't want it, and so on and so forth. That is one kind of audience. You'll go to another audience that's saying it's people's right. People have a right to decide what to do with their bodies. They are humans. They are humans like others. What do we do about them? Then there are those who are neither here nor there. When you're presenting like this, I think one of the things is to go by the data. The data says this, so that you move away from emotional, personal opinions to the data says this. The law says this. This is what is being done because of this, so that you are moving it from yourself and not making people hostile to you. You have done an analysis of the education level, of the socioeconomic analysis, of the mix. Ensure clarity. Simple language has never gone wrong, even when you are talking of something so technical. When I was at university doing my master's, I left Makerere having done a version of grammar called transformational grammar. When I went to Sydney University, I found that there was a new grammar by that time. It was new. Now, of course, it is quite ordinary. It was called systemic grammar, which I had never seen before. And for me, it was very hard. I really struggled every day understanding this grammar. But I read a lot. But everybody in my class looked relaxed, like they knew what it was all about. Then Professor Halliday himself, who was the originator of this grammar, one day came. He was a professor emeritus at that time, came to do a presentation. They used to do one lecture a year if you are an emeritus professor. And so many professors came to listen to this. I asked myself, should I even go and attend? Because I already don't understand this thing in the classroom. So why should I go to listen to the guy who created this complex thing? But then I said to myself, just go and see who this guy is and see what makes him think in such a complex manner. So I went. When Professor Halliday started speaking, he spoke in the most ordinary and simple language. You've seen those cartoons that show a bulb going off in the cartoon's head? That was me. It was like a light bulb had gone off in my head. In that 1 hour in which he spoke to us, I understood systemic grammar more than all the lectures I had during the semester. Nobody will ever condemn you for being simple, clear, and understood. Do not, of course, dumb it down as if these people don't understand it at all, but find a level. Then respect demographics. I've already talked about being mindful of cultural, religious, and group affiliations. I think I've explained that. Understand the interests and concerns and attention spans of the audience. For instance, if you go and you're talking of a certain topic to a people, what is it that they're interested? A topic has so many angles. There are so many angles you could put to a topic, but this particular audience that you're talking about, what is it do they want to know? Do they want to know how to use the theory you are giving them? Do they want to know how to apply it? Are they applying the theory and they want to evaluate it? Do they want to see diverse opinions? What is it? Understand this and your presentation will be good. Now, we have voluntary and captive audiences. There are places where you will go and speak to people who have come because they want, because they came by themselves. Those ones are the easier ones. But there are audiences that you will go and present your findings to because they have been mobilized, because they have come. Those ones you have to be more enthusiastic. You have done this research on a new way of doing things. A certain NGO has organized the conference and gathered these people. Half of them have come because they know they'll get a transport allowance and get lunch. They are a captive audience. If they had other ways of making money, they wouldn't be there. You have to be more engaging, more deliberate in order to hold their attention. Prepare for the environment. We've talked about the room size, microphone type. We tend to do a PowerPoint presentation like I'm using now. Have you checked whether there is power? Have you looked to alternative ways of presenting in case you can't use a PowerPoint? Have you considered using a flip chart for illustration? Have you considered how large the audience is? Have you considered alternative ways in which to do this if all this fails? It is possible. Not every country, not every university is like your workplace, where these things are a given and well taken care of. And in relation to that, be flexible, make adjustment based on how you see the audience reacting, how you see the setup is. I've talked about an audience analysis as if audiences are homogeneous. It is very rare that audiences will be homogeneous in any place that you go to. There will be diversity. Acknowledge diversity and avoid stereotyping people. Observe, many of these things are observable in the way people talk, in the way they dress, in the way they respond to you. Observe this and acknowledge this diversity. And promote inclusivity. Academics and scholars, we tend to be arrogant, I must say. We tend to feel I got to say what I say and that's it, take it or leave it. Communicate with respect and sensitivity to all audience members. You have a point of view. Respect other people's point of view. You may not agree with it, but that is their point of view. Listen to it respectfully, respond respectfully without dismissing them with contempt. Now I come to, you've done your audience, you are ready to talk, but let me tell you, however many times that you speak, at least me, I don't know you, you might be different. For me, each time I speak to a new audience, there is that measure of nervousness. And I think it is good. I don't think it's bad because it puts up your adrenaline and your adrenaline makes you perform. Why do we do this? Because it is a new place. We are outside our comfort zone. We are outside our office. We are outside our university. We are outside the people you know. So the first thing to do is prepare, prepare, prepare. Once you're well prepared, that alone gives you confidence. And me, what gives me confidence about preparation? If you've been invited to speak, I've been invited to speak today, for instance, about this, then you've invited me because you want to hear. So that is already a good thing. People want to hear what you're saying. This I acknowledge Professor Katunguka, the Vice Chancellor of Kyambogo University. He taught us this many, many years ago, and I've kept it in my mind. He told me, not me, all of us who were in that workshop, he told us that when he was preparing to defend his PhD, his supervisor told him that, come and present to me. And there was only one person in the room. And he was presenting to the one person in the room as if he was presenting to the whole panel of people whom he was going to talk to. Same goes with the conference paper. Then he came back and then he gave him feedback. He said, now go home and present to your wife. Because I think there were, at that time, the kids perhaps were in school or something. But his wife, I think, is a lawyer. Imagine presenting veterinary things to a lawyer who is not even in your field so that they understand what you are saying. That is the true test of diversity. So he presented, she was gracious enough to listen to this and so on. He came back, gave feedback to his supervisor. Then his supervisor told him, now go back in an empty room and present to the wall. Perhaps you could put a mirror so that you could see yourself. So for me, practice always helps in you getting confidence on how you're saying these things, how you are explaining them, how you're using the time. That is always very helpful. The second one, you can do all this and go there and you tense up. If you're like me and you have a shrill voice, you hear yourself that your voice is going like this and going. That happens when you're nervous. So deep breathing really helps, and mindfulness to calm your nerves. Have you ever seen people do this when they're like talking? They say, and so come and give a vote of thanks when they're not prepared. And they do something like, oh my. Do you know what they're doing? They're breathing. They are breathing because in order to say, oh my, you're taking in a deep breath and you're releasing it in a natural way. Instead of going, that probably will not work so much. The second thing you'll notice good speakers do, and you think it is just style, they'll put their hands together and say something like, well, oh, goodness me. But you know what they're doing? They're pressing their hands together. I want you where you are seated now, put your hands together and press, and then release. Do you see how your muscles relax? And after that person has said, oh my, what a rare opportunity this is. That's breathing. And when you breathe in, you send oxygen to your system, oxygen goes to your brain and you relax. Now we are relaxed. Let's get ready to present. What are the communication elements that are going to help you present? According to Albert Mehrabian, he proposed these 3 elements in terms of speaking to an audience. And this is in face-to-face communication, whether you are on a one-to-one, whether you are talking to a small group, whether you are presenting at a conference, whether you are giving a speech at a wedding. These are the verbal elements, the actual words and content, the one you spent sleepless nights writing in order to prepare for your conference. These have, according to his research, they account for just 7%, of the impact you have on your audience. Can you believe that? For all those many 15 pages you wrote for that paper, for all the nights you stood to try and summarize it into a 10-slide presentation, that accounts for 7%. But it is important, and we are going to see how that is very important. Then the vocal elements, the tone, the pitch, the intonation accounts for 38%. And then the visual, the people will believe most what they see. Your body language, your expressions, your gesture is what they believe most. I like to illustrate this point with something outside of conference, just something in ordinary face-to-face communication. Suppose you come here to my house to visit me. This is where I'm talking from. I'm talking from home. And then I say, hello, I'm really happy to see you. I've been really looking forward to seeing you. Do you believe me? Most likely, you're going to say, oh my gosh, why did I go and visit her? She's really not happy to see me. I'm not welcome here. But supposing I improve that a little and say, oh my, I'm so happy to see you. You're most welcome. But my face is not showing this. You're going to say, yeah, she's a bit happy, but I don't know what's troubling her. Is she not happy to see me? Does she mean what she says? But supposing you come, said, oh my goodness, I'm so happy to see you. Oh, my hands are all spread out. I come and give you a hug. I'm smiling. That is a lot more convincing. So what does that tell us about conference presentation? People will be impacted more by what they see. First of all, you are the greatest visual. Visual number one is you, how enthusiastic you are, how engaging you are, what your expressions and gestures are. But also, other visual things are your presentation itself. How visual is it? So let me first talk about the body language before I go on to the visuals, because I'm starting with the most impactful. I'm not saying the verbal elements are not important. We are going to come to them. So when usually when you go to a conference, there'll be a podium in front of you. Some of us will go and cling to the podium as if our life depends on it, as if we let go, our legs are going to collapse under us. No, the podium is for you to put your paper or whatever else you need for presentation, to put your computer. Feel free to move a few meters from that. Stand comfortably. Your legs slightly apart, slightly wider than hip distance, so that you're comfortable and grounded. Your hands are free. Use them to express yourself. So today I'm going to talk to you about 3 aspects of my research. You can put up your fingers so that people can see. The first one, as you go at the second one, the third one, and then you can go. And then the situation of the women in the community was very sad, and emphasize that. I'm not saying start crying, but the situation of the women was very sad. As you're smiling, no, you can't be smiling. And so try to be, and don't go outside the range of your expressions. Remain within the range of your expressions. In our situation analysis, we talked about room size. The bigger the room, the larger your gestures. The smaller the room, the more intimate and smaller your gestures, so that you engage the people and draw them to you. The tone and pitch. You vary your tone and pitch in order to go. If you speak in a monotone, because you are here to present a paper on this subject that is very important to the nature of the situation. People are just going to be really, really bored by you, by your flat tone. If you speak too fast, like I tend to speak often, I have to slow myself down, or people will say, my goodness, where is she running? If you speak too loud for a small room, then people are going to feel attacked, going to draw away from you. It's too slowly that people don't even hear what you say. It's going to be a problem. So what do? We are going to modulate, to change our tone, to speak slower when you're emphasizing a point. And I tell you, this thing was so significant that when we went into our findings, it was, and then you speak a little faster, a little slower, you modulate. So let's start with the visuals now, outside of ourselves. Keep it simple and clear. Do not make your PowerPoint so crowded. People like to see, supposing you are talking about the use of ICTs, limit your text, use short bullet points and create slides paired with images. For instance, instead of saying, there are laptops, and you have there a whole 3 lines in bullet points. A laptop is dumb. You say these are the common types of ICTs: laptops, projectors, mobile devices, MP3 players, ebook readers. As you point towards this, usually you'll have a pointer. Usually people will have seen these kinds of things, and they will remember it more from the visual than from so many lines of things that you have written. This helps people understand, grasp, and remember. You remember that 55%? They'll remember it more than the words. Your words will guide the things you say, but you presented it in a compelling way that they can understand. Again, using visuals. You can enhance comprehension with charts, graphs, or images. I'm giving here an infographic showing methods used to guide users to access online resources, which makes data easier to understand than a table full of numbers. So here we are seeing methods used, and you can see just even before they even give you the percentage, you can see by the size of the infographic that, for instance, websites have the biggest. Then we have webinar, virtual class, virtual meetings, 63%. We have library mobile app, 27%. We have remote login. Then we have LibGuide. Then we have others. And this helps you to be, once you, this librarian who presented this, once they understand their library very well, they are able to talk about this engagingly while their audience, in a very easy way, internalize and absorb this. The other thing about visuals is consistency. Consistency matters. Some people use different font sizes, different colors, red, blue, green. Try to be consistent in color themes, in font sizes, in font types, in order to, first of all, to reflect your university colors and maintain visual harmony, but also we like things that are very, very well matched to each other. We like to see structure, and this holds your audience better. Then we come to the words. We come to the to pull together this all together. Practice your presentation multiple times, rehearsing in front of colleagues, family members. Rectify clear points. I've already talked about that. I've talked about engage the audience with gestures, eye contact. By the way, eye contact. I forgot to talk about that. Some people are shy, and so they will look down and not look at the people. Some people will look at the one side of the room. Usually when I'm on the opposite side of the room and the person is looking to just this one side, I keep looking to the other side where they're looking. I say, why? What is there? What is there that is not with us? So sometimes I recommend a Z pattern. Go to one corner of the room, take your eyes to the other end, bring them diagonally to the front, look this side, and repeat the pattern across. Make it look natural, obviously, and not mechanical. Should the room allow you to move around, or the setup, move around to create a dynamic presentation atmosphere and maintain audience interest. And I've already talked about how to vary your voice. Then, and now when you're presenting a multimedia, the other aspect that gives us visual elements is multimedia. These days, we have the still images, but we also have moving images. Supposing you're making a presentation about libraries in Northern Uganda, you can use a short video to demonstrate practical benefits of community libraries. You see a video showing people enjoying, showing people discussing, showing people doing animated things. Animated things increase our brain waves. And when our brain waves are accelerated, we are more engaged. Be purposeful. Ensure that each visual aids comprehension or provides necessary details. And you can use a series of photographs sliding one after the other. What I have given here is an example. I've taken a picture from the National Library of Uganda before spaces and renovated. Assuming they have applied for funding to renovate the library, and they have got this funding. And in my dream, they've renovated the library to look like the next picture on the right. So you get this image, which you can talk to. Is there anybody here from the National Library of Uganda? You get this. If you know the library, you work there. You know this. It is easy to talk about it because it's your library. So you are telling them, this is how our library is. We have spaces where people do ABCD and so on. It was difficult for us because it was congested. There was no space to do ABCD. These are all things that you can talk about in an engaging, passionate way. Then you got funding, and they gave you funding, and you built this other library on the right. And yes, the space is better. The engagements are better. The lighting is better. There is a lighting dome on the top. Is this enough? Maybe and maybe not. There is a saying, to sababu ongerwa. So you put this and talk to the good things it has done first, because probably your donors are present. It's a donor conference. And then you say, but we need something more. We need perhaps more computers. We need perhaps more, whatever it is that you feel that you need. We need more money for training because now we have the training spaces. But you've shown both. You've shown where you've come from. You've shown where you are going by a series of photographs that illustrate your point. And if it's something you're familiar with, you're able to talk enthusiastically about it. Now, we talked about the verbal elements, the words, the actual words that you are using to convince your audience. Let me tell you, the words are important. It may be 7% of what makes the impact, but it is the structure that holds your presentation together. So for this, I thought, how do we empower this? I thought we would enhance verbal elements with the 3 principles of pathos, ethos, and logos. These 3 principles, I'll explain what they are, we got them from the Greek philosophers. And how these principles came about, I'll give you a brief history. In ancient Greece, there were no courts of law like we have today. Like when you have a case, you go to court, you get a lawyer, you have a judge standing there, you have witnesses, and so on. They just used to go to those great amphitheaters, if some of you have been to Greece, and the whole town would be present, like Nambole. And towns were small. Towns were like about 1,000 people. So two people would come up and there would be no judge. It would just be the two of you. And I would be saying, I perhaps am a widow, perhaps, and then I have stolen really the land of a certain gentleman. Let's call this gentleman John. And so John and I are there presenting our case. So whoever was more compelling and the audience believed would be the one who won the case. So these Greek philosophers started asking, what is it? What are the elements that make one person more persuasive than the other? And so after their philosophizing, they came up with pathos, ethos, and logos. And we have started, these have been adapted in communication now as principles of persuasion. And when you present your conference paper, you are persuading people to engage with you, to understand you, to get the message that you want to get across. So how can we use this? Pathos is engaging the audience's emotions to create a connection. Remember me and that gentleman whose land I have stolen? I can fall on my knees and say, oh, why do you want a poor widow like me to take away my land? Look at my children. What's going to happen to them? Oh, Lord. Oh, poor me, what do I do? And then, of course, if I'm persuasive in my arousing people's emotion, and this guy, he doesn't know how to cry, he doesn't know how to do what, he loses the case. Everyone starts shouting at him, why are you stealing the widow's land or something like that? This is pathos, engaging the audience's emotions to create a connection and inspire action. But am I telling you to cry? No, I'm not telling you to cry. There are other ways we can engage emotion. Use stories, examples, or metaphors relevant to the local context in Uganda or in whichever environment you're talking about to engage feelings like empathy, pride, or urgency. You can share, for instance, a compelling story about the impact of the local community project to draw an emotional engagement. Let's talk about the early days, not even the early days, HIV. By the way, my students told me HIV is no longer a threat, that it's now a lifestyle disease. But me, I'm of old school where HIV is that scary thing still that gives you great shock, but yet you can live and you can survive. So imagine a person standing there who doesn't have HIV and another one standing there who is living with HIV. And this one is giving you the facts about HIV, how it's got, how it's transmitted, the impact on life. But the other one comes and tells you a story, how they were a young girl, they were living in their sister's house, and then maybe they were sexually harassed by the sister's husband. Explains that very emotionally. And then, or may not be emotional, may have now taken counseling, and then is thrown out by the sister, is thrown out by the family, says, why did you go take your sister's husband? Goes through so many challenges and now triumphs. If this person is able to tell this story well, that story is more compelling than the person who tells you how HIV is transmitted, the impact on people, and ways of dealing with it. So, is there any story you can use that your audience can relate to, that they can find compelling? Remember, a conference presentation is not an academic publication. You don't have to be rigid. You can use engaging conversational style to get your audience. So pathos is emotional appeal. Ethos. In order to ethos, the word ethics comes from ethos, the Greek word ethos. Establishing trust and authority as a speaker. We have many ways of establishing this trust. First of all, our very education. When a person stands there, a person comes to talk to you about climate change, a professor in geography or something who knows about climate change, and then a villager. No, villagers actually know a lot, because really they are right close to nature. They know these things. And a young boy, who of those two do you believe? Education brings ethos. Research brings ethos. A well-prepared presentation brings ethos. So share your credentials and experience, those testimonials that show your expertise in the subject matter. You don't have to stand there and say, I am a professor, I have published 50 papers, I have traveled the world, I have 3 PhDs. No, that's not how they establish ethos. That is showing off, that's boasting. But you establish ethos by integrating your engagement with what, when we went and visited the camps, you remember the internally displaced camps in northern Uganda? You can say, when I visited the camps in northern Uganda, I was struck by the number of children who were doing ABCD and had lost the opportunity. I talked to one OPO who said when the war started, he was in P4 and now he's 15 and would really likes to study and has missed out on the opportunity. And this speaks to the need to do accelerated learning and so on and so forth. So you are establishing your trust and authority. You are sharing your credentials. You have been there. You are on the ground. When we went to and we did interviews and talked to the people, you are establishing your ethos. You actually gathered data. We found that this data, you can relate to it. You are mentioning your involvement in what you're presenting, in a national project, or in your collaboration with an institution. This is the way you do it, rather than just announcing what strengths you have. So that is ethos. The third one is logos, logical appeal. Use facts, data, and logical reasoning to support your argument. Make clear and structured. This is what research is about. Show them what is your method, how you gathered this research, how you analyzed it, and speak to the statistics. Sometimes we just put statistics, boom, 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 boom. Speak to the statistics and make them simple. Remember the things that we talked about, how to present statistics and make it simple. Don't put complicated things on screen that people don't understand. Try to present them in a way that people can digest. So which of this is better? Is it pathos? Is it ethos? Is it logos? Combining all the three effectively enhances the impact of your verbal elements to ensure your message is engaging, trustworthy, and logically sound. Now, you are presenting. You have put it all prepared. You've overcome your nervousness. You are going. You are presented. Does it stop there? Can you still hear me? Can you hear me?
We can. Just
Yes.
it just went off for a short while.
Yes, we know.
Okay, because I saw that my internet connection was playing up a bit. Okay, I'm glad you can. So now remember that as a presenter, that presentation is an engagement. Listen, be open and attentive to audience comments, invite audience feedback to identify any gaps in comprehension and any gaps in your work that can help you improve. If you've asked and you are not sure, don't hesitate to ask more details if feedback is vague. For instance, could you explain what you mean by suggesting different theoretical framework for my study on literacy programs? Don't jump into an answer without knowing what it is that people have asked you. And sometimes seeking clarification, sometimes you may have understood actually, but you need thinking time. So use this asking for clarification in order to get time. The late Gaddafi used to use this very well. He knew English very well, but he never spoke in English. He always spoke through a translator. And when people asked a question, he would wait for his translator to tell him what has been said. Yet he understood it first time, and then he would answer. And then conference presentations are not a one-off thing. You will be presenting again and again, and the more you present, the better you become. So incorporate constructive feedback into future presentations. And I always go with a little paper, a little notebook. I'm still analog like that. I'm not one of those people who quickly types it into my phone. But if you are, that's fine. Take something that you can type it into. Summarize feedback in a notebook for reflection and continuous improvement. If doing it on your phone or on your computer is the way to go, that's also fine. Now, what about timing? You go to this thing, you've worked so hard, you are presenting something that you presented in your conference paper, and you have now summarized it and they've given you 20 minutes. What do you do to stay within the allotted time? People respect. By the way, never be worried of speaking too short. Nobody has ever complained of a speech or a talk that's too short. People complain of what's too long. Outline your presentation and allocate specific times to each section. E.g., place a watch on the podium and monitor the time discreetly to keep track. Aim to finish a few minutes early to accommodate questions, as demonstrated by seasoned presenters at other local forums. Then I want to talk about networking. I've talked about this in the beginning. Be proactive. When I was talking about why we need conferences, approach peers and mentors during breaks or networking events. When somebody is presenting, listen very carefully and look for one thing that you can ask them. Sometimes you even know that one thing, but use it as a conversational opening. I was very fascinated by what you talked about ABCD. What do you think about da-da-da-da-da? That is, it gets a conversation going. Introduce yourself to visiting professors, key presenters, etc. Don't wait for them to reach out to you. Work the room. We call it working the room. Hello, I'm Jane Francis Alowo. I come from this and this. I do this and that. I like what you said about this and that. Why is this important? Most grants, we now, in some universities, public universities, we have RIF, Research and Innovation Funds. But still, that it's very hard to get that going. There are more applications than grants that are there to give. Most of your grants or our grants come from the North. But the way the North works in North-South collaborations. They don't want to give their taxpayers' money to another country without showing how their own country benefits. So these people are always looking for partnerships with us. It is at conferences that they can identify, oh, is that so? Is that your research area? That's interesting. Exchange contacts and so on, and keep talking. When that researcher wants a partner from the South, they know you. When you want a researcher from the North, you got somebody's contact. Then don't limit this to your conferences. Nobody knows digital platforms more than librarians. So here you are in your own comfort zone and safe area. You are the ones who teach us about all these platforms. But don't teach others and fail to benefit. Share your work on platforms like ResearchGate, LinkedIn, academia.edu, many, many others. This sharing can result in an invitation to speak at a conference because people know that you exist. Remember visibility, make yourself visible. So as I conclude, I want to recap again the things we've talked about in this presentation today. We've talked about understanding the benefits and opportunities of presenting at conferences. we've talked about conducting audience analysis and audience needs analysis, learning how to overcome common presentation anxieties and fears, designing engaging and informative presentation slides, delivering a confident and effective oral presentation, taking into account the visual and delivering a confident visual aids, time, and promoting. As we go forward, what I have said is just a guideline, but we need to commit to regular practice and peer review, present to each other, take an opportunity to present. I put some references there for you where I got some of these ideas, and I thank you for your attention. I think the floor can now open the floor for questions and discussions. Those are my contacts. In case you wish us to talk some more, I'll be happy to talk. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Feedback is already coming in. People have really enjoyed the presentation. Thank you, Doctor. Members, I think we can have questions. Let me check the chat if I have some questions here and remarks. Members, you can post your questions in the chat or remarks, and also the Q&A. The Q&A. The takeaway from me is when you hinted on visibility. If you are not appearing, then you are disappearing.
Disappearing, yep.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think I can relate with this so much. So visibility creates opportunity. Many of us have got opportunities just because some simple things we do here and there. Yeah, I can personally relate to this point. So maybe the first question I'm seeing here, Doctor, if you may, Habib Uthman was asking, simplifying technical terms. How can one simplify technical terms? For instance, scientifically, they have to be used the way they are. For example, epistemology and the use of Latin words in law, etc.
Okay. Do you want me to respond to that first?
Yeah, I think it's the only question I'm seeing so far.
Okay.
And maybe there is a hand from Miss
Yeah.
Barbara. Madam Barbara, you can maybe you ask your question.
Okay. Well, thank you to the presenter for sharing really very useful information to us, the early career researchers, and as we prepare for future conferences. Well, Doctor, what I've observed in some of the conferences I've attended, you realize that a presenter makes his presentation, but at the end of the day, or at the end of it, the audience is just quiet. No comments, no questions, no what. What does that imply? Does it mean there was no sense? Does it mean they understood everything? What's your opinion in terms of interpreting that kind of silence after your presentation? And then I also want to know, like as a presenter, how best can you probe your audience to ask questions during the time with your presentation? How can you probe them to ask questions so that you don't just present and at the end of the day, no one is giving you any feedback? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. I'll start with simplifying technical terms. Technical terms are representation of concepts that already exist in society. And one of you first of all, before you probe how you simplify, probe your intentions in using the technical term itself. Why are you using the technical term? I'll give you an example. My area is languages. Well, one of my teaching and research areas is language. And we have freshers coming in first year to do linguistics. So sometimes when I used to observe this when the policy still allowed us to recruit students right from their undergraduate, if they've got a first class and they come in. Now, of course, the policy has changed. They need to have a master's at least. You would find that a young lecturer is in the classroom teaching first year's introduction to linguistics. And because they've just finished. Last year they were students, now they're a lecturer. And they are feeling nervous and are not yet sure of how to teach this thing. So they want to establish their authority. So what do? They use big words. So today is an introduction lecture in linguistics. Linguistics, we are going to look at linguistic levels. And we're going to start, we shall be looking at the phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics of language. Now imagine a person has just come from senior 6. They don't know what syntax, semantics, pragmatics are. So you've lost them and you go ahead. But before those things became technical terms, what do they represent? You could easily have said, we are going to look at the 4 levels of language. We are first going to look at the sounds in the language and how they are combined, which in linguistics we call phonetics and phonology. Then we are going to look how these sounds are joined into words, which we refer to as morphology. And then when these words combine, they create rules, which you have been calling grammar, but technically we call syntax. Those are the grammar rules about how sentences are combined, and so on and so forth. If you did this, if you were able to do this, then the people understand you. But now I'm talking to freshers who don't know this. So there, I simplify it for them. But supposing I was talking to professors, am I still going to tell them phonetics is the sounds of the language, morphology is how we combine them? No, that now is patronizing them, is dumping it down. So it's a combination of 2 things, a correct audience analysis and then a correct way of simplifying. You simplify these words by breaking down what they mean side by side with the technical term. The no response. No response is a complex thing. Sometimes people really have things to ask, but you are the last presenter before lunch. They want to go for lunch. All the other presentations have overflowed. Sometimes it's because the unreasonable time has been unreasonably short. You have had to summarize quickly, a presentation that should have taken longer, and people have no takeaway from it. Sometimes it is because your presentation has not been engaging. You have not held people captive, interesting them enough to know. Sometimes it is because it has been a captive audience. You want us to be here? Let's be here. Sometimes we do this, by the way. Sometimes we have a presentation and we don't have enough numbers. I do this. and I tell my class that today there is a presenter going to be in this place. Instead of the class, because maybe I'm participating in the conference and I'm not able to teach them, but they also have something like, you have to be there. If you just tell them to be there, they say they want us to be there. Okay, we shall be there, and at lunchtime go and eat and go away. But in addition, I give them an assignment. During that presentation, I want you to do for me A, B, C, D. Then they have a purpose for listening, and they will ask a question. So sometimes you do that. But sometimes it is rare that people will not ask you because they have understood everything. We just say that to make ourselves feel better. I hear people saying that from time to time, that, oh, it has been such a good presentation, there are no questions. No, that is not true. It is just because we have not been engaging enough. So we need to be engaging so that people will ask questions and respond to us. But how do you then get them? You yourself can ask questions. Those questions should not be yes, no questions. They should be. So I talked about this and this. What has been your experience in doing A, B, C, D? What do you think? How have you yourself managed this and that? The questions have to be open-ended questions that invite participation from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Habib in the chat, I think he's clapping. I think the response has been okay. We have some hands up. I'll take Richard first, then Miss Lydia Namugera will come in next. Richard, you can unmute and you state your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. And first of all, before even ask my question, I want to commend Dr. Jane for these wonderful insights. I think they can help us grow in our careers, but also appreciation to CUUL and Lujja for organizing such insightful discussions. Maybe to Dr. Jane, I wanted to find out how do you handle an audience where you find that the question being asked to you are either provoking or questions your kind of integrity or your presentation, and you need to provide a response in a meaningful and again respectful manner, given the inclusivity. So how do you handle emotions where you find that audience is asking provoking questions, either due to your presentation or else questioning your academic integrity in that case? I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard. Maybe we can have one from Lydia, Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdulla Azziz, the moderator, for this wonderful moderation. I would also like to thank our facilitator. Thank you so much. It is a wonderful presentation, very wonderful. I just defended my PhD a week ago. I wish I knew this earlier.
Congratulations, Lydia.
You're welcome. Like the Z pattern you talked about, I would have taken my eyes around the room and all that. But anyway, I just want to comment on an issue that one of us raised, that what happens to an audience that is not responsive. You know, you present and they're not asking questions. I think this comes back to us as young researchers, as people who are developing our careers. I think it's very important that we are participatory, that we involve ourselves in the presentations. Way back when I just started working, someone told me that never go to a conference and come back when you haven't even posed a question. At least you ask one question. So I used to be very attentive in international conferences to find out a question that I could ask. You know, never go in a place and you come out unnoticed. That's why, Doctor, you said that if you don't appear, then you will disappear. And these things are the things that have helped us be visible over time. So colleagues, as we are growing, let us be intentional in being visible. You know, at least be very attentive and get a question that you pose at the end of it. And I used to put up my hand in those international conferences full of whites, and I was the only little black girl raising up their hand. But why? Because I'd been taught never to leave unnoticed. So I think the issue of not asking questions at the end comes back to us. I think we still have that fear within us of expressing ourselves. So mine was not a question per se, but I think a message that I wanted to pass on to us as upcoming researchers. Thank you so much. Over to you, moderator.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vice Chair CUUL, for that. And then in the chat, maybe one last one before I go to the Q&A. Hassan is asking, how do I deal with nervousness and panic, especially if I'm a first-time speaker or presenter, more so to a large audience? That is Hassan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we can have those then.
Can I respond to those? Okay.
Yes.
I'll start with Lydia. Congratulations, Lydia, and welcome to the club. So, Lydia, thank you for that point about non-responsiveness and the value of this. In fact, I'd forgotten to mention that. Make sure you have something to say and take time, compose it, because you're not the one speaking, the other person is speaking. It is one of the things that will make people come to you during tea break, because there are many people who wanted to say it, but they were shy, they were afraid, or they hadn't thought of it. But now that you said it, they've also realized they have it. They'll come, oh, I like what you said about this and that and that. It's a great conversational starter, and it is a great thing for gaining visibility, because you may not have had sometimes we go to conferences where we are not presenting, but other people are presenting and we've gone to listen. So this is your opportunity to get that visibility. And it's also a way to keep yourself active. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Richard, before I answer, could you tell me perhaps, give me an example of a provoking thing that somebody could ask?
Yeah,
Richard,
for example, Richard here. For example, you may present your findings of your study and someone say, but surely this methodology wouldn't be the right methodology to bring that out. I doubt whether these results are representative of the scientific rigor that it took out to come up with these kind of findings. So, just as an example, so you feel like, you're trying to defend yourself, based on what you've presented.
Okay. So let me take that very example. People will get very personal. People will get very personal when you're presenting. And I think Lydia can tell you this. She has just defended her PhD. But even when they're presenting, academics sometimes tend to be arrogant. So this is absolute rubbish. How can you say this? Number one, control yourself. But you are human, aren't you? So as soon as somebody says such insulting things or such demeaning things, your pressure goes up. Recommendation, breathe. First, breathe. Because breathing helps calm you down. Then number two, focus on the issue, not on the person. The people who do these things are usually there will be these people, they're always the ones standing up and giving this. So ask for clarification. Sometimes the people who do that do not focus on the issue. They are just generic. This method is just cannot reach this study. And what you're telling us, do you mind explaining? Do you mind elaborating on which particular point does not relate directly to the study, so that I can respond more specifically and speak calmly, speak slowly, and ask for that clarification. so that you have a targeted, focused way of responding to an issue, not to the emotion. Respond to the issue and not to the emotion. And then nervousness. Hassan, how do we overcome nervousness? Number one, acknowledge that you're nervous and that it is normal, because it is quite normal for people to be nervous. So that way you don't feel bad, say, oh my God, I'm so nervous and whatnot. It is quite normal to feel nervous. Then number two, remember that you are the presenter. If you're presenting your findings, who did the research? You did the research. Then I talked earlier about breathing. Breathe, calm yourself down, relax your muscles. Then I'm going to tell you this because I was told this once. Once when I had just started, I did what Lydia talked about. At a certain conference, I asked a question and made some comments. It was a human rights conference. I am not in human rights at all, and gave my opinion. And then people came talking to me afterwards. And of course, me, I was just talking from my layman point of view. I'm not an expert. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not what. So we had quite a good discussion over tea, over lunch. What came out of that? I was invited for a conference in New York. And many of the people in that conference were from the UN. And there were these important names that you read about in the news, whom I never thought I would meet. And it was just their little me coming from here. One of my earliest conferences I'd never been to. I was so nervous. I prepared. The next thing is prepare. Once you're prepared, practice. I knew, Jane, you're ready. You're ready to present this. And then that still didn't take away the nervousness. I'm going to talk to these people who are sitting there. Do you know what somebody told me? Said, Jen, these are just human beings. They are like you. They eat, they sleep, they wake up, they go to the toilet. You just look at these people and imagine all of them are sitting on the toilet. Then you are going to see that they are ordinary people like you. I laughed, but it helped me. They are just ordinary people like you. And you are the expert in what you are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. There is one testimony in the chat. This Barbara Apollo says, I was very active in one international conference, and it earned her sponsorship to another conference by the organizers. So I think she was adding on her voice onto what Madam Lydia had said of participation.
Yeah.
Members, there is a link in the chat. You can use it for evaluating the webinar. When I hear in the Q&A, Happy Kutesa says, thank you for the wonderful presentation. Doctor, I sometimes see what they call icebreakers. Comment on the use of such icebreakers in presentations. Then maybe secondly, pious. Thank you, Doctor, for the presentation. I don't regret logging in. My take home is visibility creates opportunity. So when I think of writing not paid for, I get encouraged. Okay, Boniface had copied something from the chat, but this one has been answered. How do I overcome shyness and timidness while presenting to an audience? I think this one has been hinted on. Happy again says, also I wanted to ask about tricks of invoking listeners' interest in professional presentations. What are some of those tricks to invoke listeners? Then Paya says, new learning, pathos, ethos, and logos. Sounds a great principle or theory. Now, if I am a person who speaks a little bit fast, what techniques can I use to make my presentation well-paced and not too slow? Then lastly is from Brenda Namusabi. Fantastic presentation, Doctor. how do I go about drafting a good poem? And how do I keep the audience lively and active? Thank you. I think those are some of the last questions we shall be taking for the interest of time. Since we are learning how to be presenters and all that, we need to manage our time. Thank you. Maybe, Doctor, you may have the floor. And maybe one last hand from Abdurrahim Noor, the very last hand. Abdurrahim, you can unmute. You briefly introduce yourself and you pose your question.
Thank you, Azziz. This is Abdurrahim Noor from Makerere University. Thank you so much, Dr. Jane.
From which university?
For Makerere University.
Okay,
Business.
yes, Abdurrahim.
Thank you, Doctor, for the excellent presentation. It was very informative. From your experience, what are some of the common mistakes researchers tend to make during conference presentations, and how can we avoid them? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Abdurrahim. One of the commonest the commonest things is that conferences usually have, unless you're the keynote speaker, they usually it's about 20 to 30 minutes if you're lucky, sometimes even 15 or 10, depending on whether it is a panel discussion or not. Part of the conference, what we do is wanting to present everything that we researched. Usually your research will be big. It will be something from your whole thesis. It will be something from a whole conference paper of about 20 pages. So one of the things is to try and present all of it, and before you know it, all your time is finished, especially when they are strict and they've said, and you've just started, thank you, you've done the protocols, you've barely given 2 points. And at the end of it, you've not got into your presentation, and people have not got the essence of what you're trying to say. So the thing is, plan, pick the most important points that will resonate with your audience. Practice. If you have peers who are going to listen to you, let them listen to you and give you feedback and suggestions. Very often, if you have an opportunity before you go to a conference, many departments have departmental presentations. Make that presentation at the department and practice so that it is shared. So that you get feedback that you can integrate into your presentation. Make sure you have a takeaway that people can have from your presentation to say, we listen to this, I have this takeaway that I can take away from this presentation. Then I want to say something really quickly about energizers. Energizers usually are for workshops, but for a conference, I want to talk about something else that you can do, because you are not the one conducting the whole conference, you're just presenting your paper. So how do you start your conference, your presentation? The research shows that when you start speaking, you have 8 seconds to capture or lose people's attention. So make sure that one of the areas you have to prepare most carefully for is the introduction. What am I going to say in the first 8 seconds of my presentation? You can use an interesting anecdote. You can use a compelling statistic. You can ask a question. You can give a testimony. There are about 20 ways of doing that compelling opening. I might share them with Sarah, and then if you have some kind of network, she could share this with the other members. What other question was there? Unfortunately, I didn't realize when you were giving me the other questions. I thought you were just mentioning them. Is there something in there that I have not answered?
Yes, Doctor, maybe, let me see. From Pius, the last one. if I am a person who speaks a little fast, what techniques can I use to make my presentation well-paced and not too slow? We can have just that last one and...
Pius, I sympathize with you because that is me. I speak very fast. So it is just practice and mindfulness and being intentional about it and self-monitoring. Sometimes it might be useful to have a friend in the audience who you keep casting your eyes there. They might give you gestures as if, agree with the gestures they give you, slow down. And this helps a lot. But by and large, it is self-monitoring and practice.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, for that wonderful presentation.
I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. And I want to thank my friend and colleague, Dr. Liz Tate, for recommending me to do this. And I'm sure Liz recommended me to do this because she has seen me present elsewhere. And that speaks to the importance of presenting so that you're visible and so that people will know to recommend you or to call you or to invite you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor, and you're most welcome. Maybe the last item on the agenda, I'm seeing a hand up, but we are time bad. I'm sorry, Komari. Maybe you will post the question in the chat. We may forward it to Doctor, or Doctor can respond from the chat.
Yeah. If you forward them, I'll respond. I'll send responses that you can share.
Yeah. Maybe one last item, we are going to receive closing remarks from and vote of thanks from Olia GS, Mr. Patrick Odong.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lujja. Wonderful presentation. That's really a very good one. Let me take some.
Is Patrick there?
Is Patrick speaking or it is just my network? I'm not hearing anything.
Patrick seems muted.
Mr. Patrick?
He's not muted, but we can't hear.
He has unmuted himself, but we cannot hear. But remember, thank you so much for turning up in large numbers. Maybe as we wait for Patrick to, I think I see he's off now. Let us have a photo moment. We can turn on our videos and we have a photo moment.
Sorry about that, participants. I think the issues of, network issues and the rest. Once again, I would like to appreciate Ulia and CUUL for organizing these wonderful webinars. As I was alluding that CUUL and Ulia are now together. Those days were just like in a courtship, but right now we are working together as a team because we are dealing with the same professionals. Dr. Jane, thanks so much for presenting. I really have loved your presentation. It really gives us highlights on how to prepare for the upcoming conference, and also not only this upcoming conference, also in our day-to-day operations in terms of presentations. Not only the presentation skills, but also in the day-to-day, in case you are invited to speak somewhere else. I want to congratulate you, Doctor, for giving us attachment areas to concentrate, knowing your audience, know your content, and also the language to use. This is really very important in presentation. That's why it answers all the questions, whether people will listen to you or will attract the questions. To me, I think knowing your content becomes the first thing. What are you well versed what you are presenting? Because sometimes when you're not well versed what you are presenting, it becomes a very big issue in terms of your delivery. You might find along the way can get lost and you get lose directions. But Doctor has given us totally how we can be organized and to be in position to give a good presentation. So it's really a very wonderful training, Doctor. Me personally, I've learned that when I'm going to the audience, I should be knowing what to present, should be knowing how to control my audience, should be knowing my talking points and what guides me in all my presentations. So members, this is very important for all of us. Learning doesn't end. I really appreciate Dr. Jane for that elaborate presentations. And on my own behalf, on behalf of the professionals, I would love to extend our gratitude to you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. And also we ask you that when time comes, please accept again. Because today, the professionals of today are really looking towards research. And as you have said, one of the things to go for this conference is connections. It's very important. As I've also said, that most times people, when they meet in a conference, they associate again with themselves. So you go like what they call learned nothing and forgotten nothing. So when you go to a conference, at least if I'm from Kabaya University or from, I should be looking for somebody from Mackay University to relate with. And that connects us to very many things. As I've said, grants, like even today, grants in our own institutions, that advocate us to collaborate. For example, if I have a research grant from Kabaya University, my university, I should be pushing to collaborate with somebody from Busitema, somebody from UMI, somebody from UCU. So it brings us together. But it can only do that when we identify ourselves in such meetings. So Doctor, thanks so much for that guidance. I think the next conference, I should be only focused. Even Dr. as you have said, you find in a sitting arrangement in a certain conference, and people sit for how they have come, which is not correct. So from this webinar, it has taught us that when you go, you mix with others in order to widen our visibility. Because somebody will know that Lujja is from Soroti and you exchange contacts, so you keep interacting. So thanks so much, Doctor, for that. So members, it's really a training which is important for us to pick notes. And I think at the end of the day, she has been given us a link where to get her content. So members, as we come to the end, I want to remind us that we're having a conference coming soon, this coming month for CUUL. Let's make sure for those who have not paid up, not register. We also have trainings organized for professionals under ULIA. We have a training coming up next week at Soroti University. So if you're not registered now, you can register. Our details are there on the website and our platforms. And also we shall have next in Lira. At the same time, we have AGM for ULIA coming up on 15th of November. So I call upon all of us professionals to attend so that we elect our leaders so that they can continue organizing such webinars. Because all this is done because you chose the right persons to be in these leadership positions. So I encourage you that let's turn up on 15th of November to elect new leaders who can continue taking CUUL and ULIA ahead. Thanks so much, members. I don't want to waste more time. I just want to, as I say again, on behalf of ULIA, on behalf of CUUL, and on behalf of all the executives, extend our sincere appreciations to Dr. Jane. And members can send flowers to her in the chat. She can see them or congratulatory messages. Thanks so much. And for our moderators and the committee which organized this, thanks so much. We appreciate you. Let's keep the candle burning. Thanks so much. Lujja, back to you.
Okay, thank you, dear GS. So many flowers are coming in the chat. Maybe,
Thank you.
Yeah, let us have this photo moment and we call it a day. To the members who joined in, colleagues from various universities, lecturers, and the academia, people in academia, thank you so much for joining. Let us have our cameras on and we have a photo moment.
As we turn on our cameras, members, a link to the evaluation form has been posted in the chat window. Kindly provide us with your feedback on the webinar that we have just had. Thank you.
And also the PowerPoint presentations, I think it's already on our website. That is CUUL.org. It's already on our website, CUUL website, so you can rush there and you get the presentations. Thank you. Drake, can you help us with taking the photos?
I'm working on it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Just
Members,
looking.
turn on your camera.
Members have not yet turned on their cameras.
Yes.
Just be patient a bit.
Members, you want to miss the photo moment with Dr. Jane?
Selfie.
Thank you. We are done. We are done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You didn't even tell us, Maya.
Because there are many pages, so I had to go through them silently. So just okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lujja, for moderating. Thank you so much, Dr. Jane, facilitating this wonderful webinar.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, and like the ESL said, please, when we invite you next time, please come.
I will, for sure.
We shall look forward to another insightful presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you, CUUL, for the opportunity to moderate.
You're welcome, Lujja.
Thank you for the wonderful moderation. Thank you, Dr. Sarah.
You're welcome. And to everyone, thank you so much for joining in and staying up to the end.
Lovely day, everyone. It was nice.
Okay, just finally, if you're looking for the recording of this session, just go to YouTube. It's already there. The moment we complete, you'll find it. We shall be sharing the link also. Now
CUUL Resources. That is the channel.
I think when on YouTube. Thank you so much, Drake, for that.
Okay, okay.
And the publicity team. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.